Hi, so I am Susanna Beaumont and I am doing a hybrid presentation and I've selected the company EcoScraps. So tonight, first I want to talk just a little bit about what they do, just really briefly. And so as EcoScraps as a company strives to improve the environment by providing sustainable solutions. And before I get into their mission and how they accomplish it, I want to just talk briefly how they came to be their story, I guess you could say. And it started in 2010 or in around 2010 when a BYU student named Daniel Blake was at a French toast eating contest. And when he got to his second plate, he couldn't finish. And so the food went to waste. And he wasn't the only one. He looked around and saw a lot of food waste and felt really guilty. And as he thought about that, he briefly thought, how can I profit from this? And as a result of those thoughts, he decided to design a company that would help manage food waste. And so he dropped out of school, dropped out of college, and created EcoScraps with a couple other students that he knew. So basically, the company manages food waste by picking up retail waste and then making various garden supplies from it. And they get their funding from it's in large part internally from the sales of their product, but also externally through partners and foundations that they interact with. So the the main social issue that is addressed is food waste. Daniel Blake saw that as he had this French toast eating contest, but as he did more research, he discovered that approximately 40 million tons of food is wasted each year, filling the air with gases and clogging landfills. And 30 million tons of food a year is wasted just here in America. And that is enough to fill the Rose Bowl in California every 3 days, which is an incredible amount of food waste. And this food waste puts gases into the air and is negative for our environment. And so he decided to address that social issue. And his mission is to make sustainable Main Street. Daniel Blake, the CEO, said, I have never been an environmentalist, but I have always believed in sustainability. As a country, I think we are too smart collectively to not be able to innovate and develop sustainable solutions. We started EcoScraps to be one of these solutions. And as they strive to be one of these sustainable solutions, they have a four-step process that's collect, compost, sell, and garden. So to go into those just a little bit more, collect, we discussed that briefly. Um, they collect they collect retail food waste, and then after that, they take it to one of their dozens of EcoScraps facilities that compost it and turn it into natural garden supplies. And then they package it, they sell it in various stores like Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, Target, and several others. And then they have different resources and classes available on their website that you can understand how to garden. I think that's a great strength. I'll talk about that a little later, that they use those resources. But that's the final step in their process. And through this process, they've made some really great impact in these four steps. Since 2010, EcoScraps has diverted over 225 million pounds of food from landfills. And this year alone, they'll collect 75 million pounds of food waste from retailers across America. And with all that food, they compost it and create their products. Um, all of that food waste, food waste constitutes, in the research that Daniel Blake did, he discovered that food waste is 8% of the greenhouse gas emissions in our environment. And that comes in the form of methane, which is pretty harmful to our environment. However, 1 cubic foot of an EcoScraps mixture reduces greenhouse gases emissions as if you were driving a car or not driving a car for a month. So now I want to show you a couple of their products. They create clean products, and they're clean means they're certified by the Organic Materials Review Institute. And that just means that there are no synthetics in it, they don't have any chemicals, they don't include manures in it. But some of their products include potting soil, compost, various types of plant food, whether for vegetables or fruits or flowers. and they have several other products as well. They also provide different resources and services as on part of their website with some of their partners. Some of those are just gardening classes or gardening blogs that teach what kind of garden produce you can plant in your area, as well um, as one of their partners helps create um, or helps provide clean water in developing countries. It also talks about like growing your own produce to help be self-reliant and different garden restoration or environmental restoration projects. So they have some really neat resources and services that they also provide. And I think it's neat that they teach in those resources how to, or I guess a way to apply the product that they provide. It makes their product, or it shows how useful their product can be. However, the company does have some strengths and weaknesses. Um, some of the strengths that I noticed is that they've successfully collected a lot of food. That's evident. 225 million pounds in the last 8 years, and they provide public service through decreasing greenhouse gas emissions, helping decrease landfill content, and they also provide a product. They also provide resources, and that could be classified as a public service as well. Their initial market is Utah. It was created in Utah um, with BYU, and now they're based in South Jordan, and that's a flourishing area for gardening. A lot of families garden in Utah, so they have a good target audience there, but they do target and market to the entire nation. Their partner programs encourage health and wellness and activity. And one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, but I think is definitely a good strength that they have, is that they don't interfere at all with the food bank. A lot of times stores will provide food to the food bank that is maybe about to expire, but they don't interfere at all with that. If food is still edible, it goes to the food bank, and then if it's not, if it's rotting or if it's expired more than EcoScraps will take it. However, some of their weaknesses, I understand why they don't provide a way to contribute waste from the home, just because they can't really control what's coming in on that. They don't know what may accompany it from that home, but I do believe that it is still a weakness. Also, they don't really address the root cause of food waste. They manage the food waste and help organize it and provide a way to, I guess, so the food waste can give back to the community in a way you could say, but they don't really decrease that food waste. They do, however, address more so the root cause of environmental pollutants by decreasing those greenhouse gases. And now talking about some of the successes and failures of their social innovation and their organization. Their successes, they've definitely increased exposure to their organization through the different stores that they sell through. Daniel Blake acted really quickly on the issue that he saw and had a couple other friends jump in real fast. So they jumped in and started working on an issue that they saw. And I think that's a big success. And obviously they've grown. They've made worldwide impacts. And some of the failures, I didn't really see any failures. They had weaknesses, as I mentioned before, but from the research that I did, they didn't experience any failures. And a marketing director for one of the stores that supply EcoScraps products stated about the business, it's a great business and a great concept. There's no downside. It is selling well. So I think that they have a lot more strengths and successes than any weaknesses or failures. I do, however, have a couple recommendations that I would give for the company. The first one that I would give is to look a little bit more into the root cause. If they really want to work on food management, because they are food waste, they help manage it, but there could be more education going into that food waste, or maybe it could even go as far as cost, because maybe people aren't buying the produce because it's too costly. Um, the organization and company they do well to manage the food waste, as I said before, and they also help decrease environmental risks, but they could address that food waste issue a little bit more. A second issue or recommendation that I would offer would be to create maybe a subsidiary company that does handle home waste. Just because there was such a great deal of that. I didn't mention this before, but it says that 68% of salad for bagged salads are wasted, and the majority of that comes from the home. Um, a fourth of grapes are wasted between the vine and your fruit bowl at home, and so the majority of that waste is also from the home. And there's also a great deal of, it says that one tenth of bananas purchased are wasted from the home. So there's a great deal of waste coming from homes, and so I think they need to do a little bit more to manage that food waste and maybe um, add that to their composting and their products. However, you don't know where they're coming from. So maybe a community compost would be a better idea than adding it to their main company. A recommendation for scaling their innovation and impact goes along with what I just talked about community compost. Um, it just is to work with the communities, because if you are focusing more on those community areas, then they know better, or they're exposed more to the risks. They're more educated about those risks, and that increases their awareness to food waste. So maybe if a mom working in a community understands, hey, there's a lot of food waste in my community, they're more aware of that the next time they go grocery shopping, and so they buy a little less food, not to make their family hungry, but just so that they don't have as much food waste. And I think that can go a long way in preventing more food waste. And but I do think it is a really great company. They've got some great strengths and great weaknesses and room for growth. And here are my sources. But thank you so much for your time.